Hi everyone, Jackie Franchili for Wahoo's 24/7, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Good Old Podcast. And we have a new episode with the For the Love of the Game series. Again, if you're familiar with the series, this is when we invite people who are close to the student athletes or the UVA coaches, so we get to know them more as people rather than just the player or just a coach. And I'm really excited about this week's guest. We welcome Armaan Franklin's mom, India Franklin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This is my pleasure.
You know, if you've ever been to John Paul Jones Arena and you see a woman with glorious hats in the stands, you have seen India there. I have to first bring that up because you have such a great hat collection, and they've got Virginia colors on them, which is fantastic.
Oh my gosh. I think I started probably his freshman year, and I don't even remember how I started. And just I think we were going somewhere and I was like, it was probably a bad hair day, to be honest, and I probably just threw on a hat, and then it just evolved into a thing, and now it's kind of my thing, and I love it. Like, absolutely. I have about maybe 20 fedoras, probably, if not more.
At least it's easy for your son to see you in the stands.
I hope
So
he kind of gives me the really, mom. I was like, but people. I said I love fedoras. He's like, really, mom? I said, but you can spot me easily. He was like, yeah, I know. So
at least he knows you're supporting him,
yes,
and so he can't complain for a mom to being there in the stands supporting him. So
like he doesn't have to look far. It's like, okay, there she is.
And how great has it? Because you've been to quite a few games at JPJ this year, and you were on the road too to the NIT. How great was seeing him in action a couple times this season?
It's been great. When he first decided that he was going to go to UVA, my thing was, he was at IU. IU was literally 45 minutes down the road. I went to tons of games in town, out of town, because it was the Big Ten, and that was, Midwest a lot of the times. I missed maybe 4 or 5 games that were a little bit further away. So when he decided to go to UVA, I was like, how am I going to manage this? Because he's used to me being in the stands. I'm used to being in the stands, I said, and it's pretty much like a 9-hour drive to UVA from Indianapolis. And I was just like, I had to tell him, I said, I won't be at as many games as I used to be able to attend because, you're 9 hours away, not 45 minutes down the road. And so it was, I had a little bit of separation anxiety, and, but it has been wonderful to watch him kind of grow on and off the court. For me, it's been eye-opening in the fact that, he's just so mature, and, he makes pretty good choices. And then just to watch him kind of grow and flourish, like, away from me, has been, it's been a journey, and it's been a pleasant journey. And I enjoy watching him play. I always have, ever since he was little. So
I know he's the youngest of 4, so as a mom myself, I can't imagine that transition was easy at all for you to say goodbye to their baby of the family for being 9 hours away.
we jumped in the U-Haul. It rained the whole way. I was towing his car. He slept most of the way, and I'm sitting here like, I should just turn around. He's the baby. How am I going to do this? Few tears while I was driving. I was like, I've equipped him with with everything he needed. He has a great support system with my family, his brothers, my sister, my mom. And so the further along in the journey I got driving, the better I felt about it. And the biggest thing was the coaching staff made the transition so much more easier than I thought it was going to be for me. When I left, I stayed a week after I drove him up there. I did stay a week. But I left feeling really, really, really good about leaving him. I felt like I left him in very good hands, and I still feel like that.
I was gonna say the recruiting process when you're in a transfer portal compared to a high school recruit, it seems like it goes on warp speed for families. You're
It
kind of
was,
trying.
yeah, it does. And because we were still in like COVID, the process was just very different than the initial process. So everything was done via Zoom. So we didn't get the tour, the campus. It was almost like picking something sight unseen. Um, the coaches did a really good job of showing us kind of the campus the best way they could, via Zoom. But it was like, okay, we only have so much time, and we had to whittle things down from probably 20, maybe no, probably about 30 schools to five. Um, and like you said, it was in warp speed. Like, okay, who are we definitely not going? Where are we definitely not going? Who do we kind of we're thinking about? And it was like a whirlwind for us, at least for me. I'm not sure about Armaan, but as a parent, it was pretty fast, and it was kind of like, this is different. This is not how it happened the first time. And so you're like, okay, we have to be sure, because it's via Zoom. You don't know what you don't know. And and I mean, we asked tons of questions to help kind of get through the way we had to go through the recruiting process this the second time.
As a parent going through this and knowing that, wow, we have to make this decision. We can't visit a campus. We can't even meet coaches face to face. What was it about that UVA staff that you felt comfortable driving 9 hours and dropping off Armand in Charlottesville when you couldn't be close to him?
And as a family, there were probably about myself, his two brothers, my sister, and his trainer, all on the Zoom call. Not all in the same place, but we were all on the call. And it's just the plan that he had for our mind. A lot of Tony Bennett talks about his faith, and that was comforting to me. I knew what Armaan needed in a coach the second time around, and Tony Bennett and the coaching staff literally, um, they checked all the boxes. At the end of the day, they checked all the boxes, like the faith base, the wanting to have people, not just anybody, but people that fit into the culture of what they're trying to do. Um, and I think the thing that won me over was a text message that he had sent to Armaan. I don't know the full gist of the text message, but I remember at the end of the text message, he told Armaan that even if he didn't choose UVA, he was still praying that he would, go somewhere, and that it would be a good fit for him, and that he wishes him well. And not many coaches do that. If you kind of don't choose them, you know, that's not the message that they leave. It's not that they're are mean or anything like that. They just, if you don't choose, then they're like pretty much done, and they're on to the next recruit. And so the message was, it was it was a pretty detailed message. I don't remember all of it, but at the end of it kind of struck me, and it moved our mind. So, um, and they've pretty much lived up to everything that you know they said they were going to do during the recruiting process. So
So when you step foot in the John Paul Jones Arena for the first time on game day, because obviously you couldn't see this, they didn't have even crowds at the JPJ during the time that Armand was picking UVA.
nope.
What was it like to see it for the first time and see Armand there playing?
It was amazing. The crowd, the fans, the student section, it was amazing. I was like, and that's kind of what helped me with my social media stuff. I was like, these people are like diehard UVA fans. It was just, I was nervous for him, but I was kind of calm too in the same, because the fans were just awesome, and people were like, "Are you Franklin's mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it was like, "Oh my God, we love him. He's great." And I was like, "Huh." I was like, "This is really awesome." The arena itself, with even without the fans was just, it was beautiful to me. Like I had no idea. Like to see it via Zoom and then to see it in person, it was still, it was, I was overwhelmed for sure. But it was a beautiful sight, and and being in there with the people was awesome.
And you mentioned a little bit about social media. You're very active on social media during game days when you're not at the JPJ. Obviously, JPJ, and when you're at JPJ, you're a little more preoccupied. But when you are very active on social media, which is a good and a bad thing. The great thing is you do see that rabid fan base who are, happy with
Yes.
when UVA is winning and happy with Armaan. But then you see the ugly side of social media. And I think we saw that a little bit more at the end of the NIT run.
Yes.
How hard is it as a parent that you've seen your child during the ups and downs? Because Armaan is a young man, but he's still your child. He's still
Right.
your baby boy, and you see what's being written about him by fans behind keyboards. Sometimes don't even have pictures on their profile.
Right.
And how hard is it to one control yourself? Because I am 100% certain that you are controlling yourself and those responses. How hard is it? And what type of message do you want to tell fans when it comes to those things?
Um, Initially, like his freshman year, like I was like getting right back at fans. Like, you snip something, you say something to me, I'm going to say something right back. And it was actually Armand who said, Mom, he's like, why are you responding to them? I was like, what do you mean? I said, they're like talking about you. He's like, but Mom, they don't know me and they don't know you. Why are you responding? And I was like, my son just taught me something. And he's right. They don't know him personally. They don't know me personally. And when you look at it like that, um, it doesn't make it less offensive. What it does is it just puts things in perspective. Like you don't really know, you don't know what a kid is going through. No kid walks out on the court and says, I'm going to shoot 2 for 15 today on purpose. They don't do that. They work hard in the gym. You know, there's so much that goes on behind the scene. Like for me, I always wonder, okay, if is Armand struggling because, okay, first time really this far away from home because he's never really been away from home, you know, does he get nervous before games, in this setting because it's new? There's so much that goes on. Sometimes they're injured and they don't always talk about their injuries, that because it's not always anybody's business to know, what the injury is, how bad they're injured, or anything like that. They could have had a test that day that didn't go so well. There's so many things that the student athlete has to deal with, and it's not always on the court. There are off the court things that, kind of mess with their mental at sometimes too. And I understand that they're supposed to, shake that off and be prepared. And a lot of times they try to. They're human though, and that's the thing. The people that have these negative things to say and the bad things to say or the bad things to write about, what happens to people being realizing that they're also human. And and my take about it is, if my kid has a bad game and or we lose, how does that really impact your life as a fan? As a fan, in my opinion, it's like I feel bad for the kids because I know how hard they work. So I'm not going to tear them down. I'm going to continue to lift them up, build them up. And I've always had that kind of mentality on social media. Like I'm not going to respond to negativity. If you want to be negative, that's fine. Um, I'm not going to. They have a hard enough time, as student athletes, uh, with pressures of classes, pressures of just everyday life, and then pressures of basketball. So building them up is what I just vowed that I would do as a mom, as a fan of the game, and just as a human being.
So it's safe to say that Armaan, as he told you, he kind of brushes things aside when it comes to social media and just focuses on
Yeah,
the game.
yeah. He basically says they don't know me, and they don't know me, like that. They don't personally know me. They see a glimpse of me on the court, but that doesn't define who I am as a person. you know. And like I said, they're always, the players are tougher on themselves than people realize. Like if he has a bad game, you know, he'll call and talk to his brothers. Sometimes he'll talk to me, but I like that he calls and talks to his brothers and his trainer. And they have conversations, and I just focus on, how was school today, what did you eat? Are you tired? Are you getting enough rest? So I'm always in mom mode with him, and I let others, so that there's a balance. And so he gets that balance and he gets that support. And I feel bad for the kids that don't have like a really good support system to help them navigate through some of the muddy waters of people being mean behind the keyboards, or even when they're struggling, not having that support system. I couldn't imagine what that would be like for somebody, but I'm sure there are kids out there that may not have that.
How many times do you feel like you feel? I know you said that Armaan kind of said they don't know us, so we don't need to respond. But you're saying like Tony Bennett did mention that Armaan had a toe injury at one point. You're like, you want to say he's injured, he's playing injured, or he's just had a test today. How many times have you wanted just to say that, but you kind of hold it in as well?
Every single time, because I'm sitting here like they're dogging him, like he has a metal plate in his shoe. Have you ever tried to do anything with a metal plate in your shoe? Like I can't even imagine. I broke a toe before. I broke my toe, and actually a broken toe or a sprained toe, absolutely nothing they can do about it. Like they couldn't put a like a cast on my toe. They tried to tape it to the other toe, and I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. So I took that off, and it takes a long time to heal. And mine probably took longer because I'm older, but his is just now healing, because it would get stepped on in practice, it would get stepped on in the game. It would, if you plant the wrong way, you know, it's gonna hurt. And so people don't even realize that sometimes the players are injured, and yeah, they're still playing, but a lot of times they are playing through pain sometimes, and they can't elevate and can't jump and shoot like they normally shoot because of an injury. So there are many times I wanted to say it, and I was like, nope, not gonna say it. They're gonna have their opinion anyway. Like even if he is hurt, they're still gonna have their opinion. So me saying, oh, you know, he's hurt, and they come back and like, oh, that's just an excuse, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. So I let them say what they say, because I know deep down who my kid is, what he's capable of when he's 100% healthy. And a lot of people didn't know, like even before, like the summer that he got there, he had just come off of ankle surgery. He had ankle surgery. Um, he had some weird bone in his ankle that they had to take out. And like literally when he got there that summer, they were still trying to clear him to work out and do some other things. So there's a lot that goes into it that people don't even, and they probably don't even care about it, truthfully. They just, care about what they care about at the end of the day.
A lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that they're not aware of, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And you touched on it a little bit early on that you're very proud of what you've seen him, how you've seen him grow on and off the court. What is the biggest change you've seen?
Just being on the court is just being more vocal. Armaan is, he's a pretty quiet kid. And so watching him, talk to his teammates on the court, and I remember one time, I think it was Shed on the bench, and I think Shed was just um, kind of getting down on his own self. And I remember watching Armaan go over to Shed. They were both on the bench, and just talking to him and lifting him up, and that's growth. That's a lot of growth. That's a lot of just like a band of brothers, and they watch out for each other and take care of each other. Off the court, it's just, you know, he's the baby, so I'm like, okay, you need to do this, you need that. He's like, Mom, I know, I got this, and I'm like, okay, You probably do. So, you know, he's got a car. He has to take care of his car, the maintenance on his car. Most kids, you know, they do or they don't, and he's been pretty good about doing that. And just, um, you know, living in an apartment, and I come and visit, and you know, the apartment's clean, and you know, his room is clean, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So you're growing up there, buddy. That's really good, really good.
Hopefully, he doesn't pull the teenager. I'm gonna clean before my mom gets here.
He's a pretty clean. He's always been like, for the most part, kept his room clean. Very seldom did I have to get after him about his room or his laundry. You know, every once in a while. You know, I think when he was a lot younger, yeah, I did. Um, but as he became like high school and then first year college, I didn't have to do it so much. And I'm like, well, he's growing up. He's got to figure it out. Nobody, and like I told him before he left, nobody wants to live with a slob. So you remember that. You know, keep your room clean, clean up behind yourself, you know, in the kitchen, you know, things like that. And so hopefully he listened, it appears, and that I'm hoping it's not the whole mom's coming in, let me clean thing either.
Finally, I always like knowing when he was younger, did you ever think that you would be a mom to a student athlete at a D1 school, of an ACC school like this? Did that something that you always felt like this was Armaan's path when he was little? Did he play a lot of basketball?
I did. He actually started. This is one of those stories. He actually started off. I think he was. This is how it actually started. He was 3, and he was playing soccer with 4 and 5 year olds. And he really wasn't even supposed to play, but he wanted to try out. And he was one of those kids that just pushed. He was like, I want to try. I want to play soccer. I want to play soccer. You're not old enough. Yes, I am. I can do what they do. I was like, all right. So took him to soccer, played soccer. He played soccer for one session, like one whole session or whatever they call it. The lady called back and said, and Armaan was sitting right next to me. And she's like, hey, is Armaan going to play the second session? I said, Armaan, do you want to play soccer the second session? He was like, nope. I think I'm going to retire. I want to play basketball. She said, did he say he wanted to retire? And the lady and I just kind of died laughing. He's the kid that at 3, he's up watching Sports Center every morning before he went to daycare at 3. And he started playing basketball at 4. At 4. His brothers were playing in the league. His brothers are 9 and 10 years older than him. Brothers playing in the league. We would go. He would sit and watch practice. There were 5 and 6 year olds playing on the other side, and he was like, "Mom, can I try out for basketball?" They were 6 and 7. So I said, "They're older than you. They're not going to let you try out. You're too young." And again, there was a battle with me and him. No, I'm not. I looked over there. I can do what they're doing. So I go over to the guy that's running the league over there with the little kids. They're having practice. So I look at him and I said, my kid's 4 and he wants to try out for the team. I wink at the guy because I'm winking at him saying, he's too young. Don't let him do it. I wink at the guy and he was like, all right. Armaan tries out and he literally is doing what the older kids are doing. And the guy looks at me and it's like, yeah, he can play. And I'm just like, what? That was not the deal. So he's been playing basketball ever since, and D1 basketball has always been his goal. So when my kids dream, I allow them to dream, and I try to, support their dreams. So he started playing AAU in the 2nd grade and went all the way to the 11th grade. It was a lot of travel, a lot of time. I was actually in graduate school working on my master's during like part of his AAU season, and traveling and working on my master's at the same time. But it was, I got to do what I got to do for me, but I also got to do what I need to do for my kid at the same time. So I think I always knew he would, because he's a very determined kid.
At 4, he wanted to play with the big boys already.
Yes. And mostly I think part of that is because he had older brothers, and he was always trying to prove himself to his older brothers all the time. And so they were playing in the league, and he wanted to prove to them that he could play in a league too. And that's kind of how it started. So
A lot of sacrifices happen for student athletes.
yes, a lot. It's been a lot. Like, literally just whatever I could do to help him reach his goal of going to college and playing basketball is what I did. If it required to, travel the whole summer, the summer's travel was my vacation. That's how I looked at it, even though we were in the gym. And I love sports. I'm a sports junkie anyway. So it wasn't a bad sacrifice for me because I like basketball. I like football. I played volleyball, I ran track, all that stuff. I played in school myself. So it was a rewarding sacrifice, and it was fun. It was fun. It was an awesome journey, I would have to say. Awesome journey.
It must be feel even better when you see him play now at UVA.
Yes, I do. I love it. He said when he went in the portal, he said, "I want to play in the ACC," and I was like, "Okay, how are we gonna and how are we gonna make this happen?" And then I said, "Okay, let's look and see who's calling from where." And I was like, "You sure? Are you sure it's just the ACC?" We had some other schools, and I'm like, "Okay." Whatever I can do to foster whatever dream it is that you want to do, just I will do it. And that's kind of that's been our relationship. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? How can I help? And his brothers are the same way. Like, they are his biggest. I'm his biggest fan, but they are equally his biggest fans. Like, they talk every day. Like, we all talk every day though. So they talk every single day. It's very seldom that they don't talk. And when they, and all of it's not about basketball. Like, I think the other day, I think they were on FaceTime, and I didn't get to join because it was just the brothers, and they were just laughing and talking about old times and goofy things that I guess brothers talk about and do. So they had to make sacrifices too, because even though they were older, my older kids played sports in college, and I didn't get to really go see them play, but they understood why. Every once in a while I would visit them, but I never really got to see the older boys play in college.
Well, Indy, I really appreciate you talking to us about y'all's journey and just what it takes to be a student athlete. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being on your show. It's awesome.